When you grow up in Bude, you're either drawn to the sea and the surfing, or you're drawn to the cliffs and the rock climbing. And sometimes you're drawn to both. Climbing for me along the Cornwall coast has always been spectacular and usually pretty tricky. There's so many factors that come into play on a climbing day along our coastline. You've got the weather, you've got the sea conditions and the tides, you've got tricky approaches and tricky belays, and when you put all of those things together, you've got a lot to think about. But when all of those things really work, you end up with an amazing and spectacular rock climbing venue like Lower Sharpnose. When you arrive outside the government satellite station at the top of the cliff, the intimidation starts right away. You wonder whether you should even be there. And then you walk along the perimeter fence and over to the edge of that 350-foot cliff looking down onto the crashing waves below. And what you see are 3 narrow fins of rock sticking out to sea, so thin that it looks like the wind could blow them down at any time. And then you descend this narrow, tricky, stony path to the top of the North Fin, and the intimidation builds and builds. You gear up and you carefully walk out along the top of that narrow fin and set up a belay. Throw your abseil rope over, and as it hangs there in space, you realise how steep these fins really are. Once you're at the bottom, you get your first chance to look back at the rock face and see the rock architecture come back at you, all the cracks and holes and lines that you're hoping to follow. And I've been climbing there now for a few years and ticking off some of the easier routes, but over the last 12 months or so, I've got really focused on one particular route, Diamond Smiles. A line that goes right up the centre of the North Fin, and a line that I still haven't finished, but I hope I'll complete it pretty soon. Okay, so during lockdown we've all been playing around with ways of staying fit and trying to stay in climbing shape. So I had this idea of putting together a little overhanging ladder at the back of my kitchen, and I measured the height up and down of the ladder and compared that to the height of Diamond Smiles, and I reckon it's about 8 ups and downs. Clipping a rope as I go is about the same sort of physical load. Not exactly, of course, and the runs of the ladder are far too juggy, but it's useful. Yeah, so there's probably no point in thinking that this is an on-site attempt. I've been coming down here 18 months, 2 years, mainly with Joel and Rob, and we've top roped it, we've pre-placed gear. But I'm an old guy now, and this is absolutely my top end, and I'd love to tick this off. It'd be my first ever E3, and hopefully tomorrow everything will come together. Lovely job. Oh, wow, it's great to have got to the top. It's definitely like the culmination of a couple of years of coming here. Yeah, it's an amazing place, and I've loved every day we've spent here climbing. I just wish I'd come here in my teens and my 20s and got on with it all a bit earlier, really. But it feels great at the moment. And Joel's just asked me what's next, and it's always a bit like that, isn't it? So I don't know, have I got an E4 in me? I don't know.